Hello one and all, and welcome to Seen Through Glass. I think it's fair to say I'm well and truly embracing dad life because yes, welcome to my Porsche Panamera. This is my new daily. I've owned it like 4 or 6 weeks now. The crazy thing is, a couple of years ago, if you'd have asked me, could I imagine owning a Panamera? I'd have said, definitely not. I was actually never that keen on these cars. But over the last couple of years, a few things have happened, not least me becoming a father, that made me slowly start considering adding one of these to the garage. Now that I've done so, and I've lived with it for like 6 weeks, I couldn't be happier. This car is dad-tastic. I mean, the weather really can't decide what it's doing today, can it? 1 minute it's raining, next thing it's baking hot sunshine, sometimes it's windy. I'm just going to seek shelter inside the car. Now, lots of you will have noticed this is a hybrid. Let me give you all the details. This is a 2018 Porsche Panamera 4 E-Hybrid Sport Turismo. Yeah, a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? What does it all mean? Well, essentially, it's the estate car version of the all-wheel drive hybrid Panamera. Any simpler? Not sure it is. We'll get into the whole hybrid thing in a moment. Gotta be honest, the rest of it never really mattered to me. Once I knew I wanted a hybrid, there were then 3 or 4 options which were essential, and I didn't really care about spec, about all-wheel drive versus rear-wheel drive, saloon versus estate. I just knew that this thing was going to be my daily, and I wanted it to be comfortable. So I was looking for a car with Burmester sound system, so I could enjoy my tunes on a long drive to a video shoot, massage seats, because I'm old, air suspension, because I'm going to be doing a lot of long distance road trips, and this will occasionally be a family car, so it needs to be comfortable for my wife and for the baby, and then a few other things here and there which were less important. Those were the 3 critical ones. And surprisingly, in the UK, finding a car with those 3 options ticked, quite hard to do. So the minute this thing popped up, I made my move. What's quite crazy is not only does it have those 3 options ticked, but it's nearly a fully loaded car. Whoever ordered this thing went a bit insane. I mean, it's got night vision. Who uses night vision in a car? The carmine red paint, this lovely ivory-esque interior. The list just goes on, meaning that back in 2018, this thing cost £121,000. But thanks to depreciation, some 37,000 miles later, I bought it for 55 grand. Okay, still a lot of money, but I'm sorry, that is a whole load of car for the money. This is the awesome New Forest, which is absolutely full of wild horses, wild donkeys. It's absolutely amazing. One of my favourite parts of the UK. And actually, driving this car along a dirt road helps me pinpoint the exact moment I first considered buying a Panamera. It was at the start of last year when I went down to Chile with Porsche to look into their synthetic fuel development. We took a load of Panameras through Patagonia, through the national parks, and the cars just took so much abuse. We spent most of our time on dirt tracks. The weather was atrocious. We were jumping in and out of different cars, different variants, and I was like, oh, these things just keep performing. And they're kind of comfortable and sporty at the same time, and whilst previously I'd always kind of knocked them as being a bit bulbous, at that point I went, this could be a kind of cool dad car. But shortly after that, I got spoiled. Jaguar lent me an F-Pace SVR, and then BMW also lent me an i5, and I didn't really need to think about buying a daily for a while, so I kind of forgot about the whole Panamera thing. Until those loans came to an end and I had to re-engage my brain into finding a new car. But I gotta be honest, at first, I started looking at Porsche Taycans. Yeah, an electric car. But my experience with the i5 was pretty positive, and Taycans also depreciated a ton recently and represent pretty good value on the used market. So I thought, heck, maybe I could give this a go. But the more and more I looked at it, the more and more I thought about it, I was like, I'm not quite sure I'm ready to actually go out and buy an EV. Whilst I think I figured out how to live with one, still doesn't really suit my lifestyle. There's just still too much uncertainty in terms of resale value. I got too nervous. So that's when I reminded myself of, hold on a second, there is a middle ground. The Panamera, meaning I can stick with the whole Porsche thing, because clearly now I'm a fanatic, and also get some electric driving modes in the city, but have the safety net of a pretty huge combustion engine. The only thing that was kind of holding me back was the size of these cars. There's no getting away from how big Panameras are. But then I realized that I'd been living with an F-Pace SVR and an i5, two other cars that are equally huge. And actually, when you look into it, the i5 and the Panameras, they're pretty much exactly the same size. And once you get used to living with a big, comfortable executive car, it's quite hard to go back into something smaller. I'm sure my female viewers will understand and agree. So once I figured out that a hybrid Panamera might be the route to go, I started to browse the used market, and I couldn't believe what relatively good value these cars now represent. For like 50 or 60 grand, you can get yourself pretty much any Panamera. Gen 1 or Gen 2, estate, saloon, turbo, GTS, hybrid, non-hybrid. The world's really your oyster. And because these things were so expensive when new, they're all spec'd fairly well. Porsche are the king of the options list, but people tend to get a bit carried away because when you're buying a 100 grand car, what's a couple of grand more on LED matrix headlights? I know I was after these three very specific options, but just listen to the other options the original owner of this car ticked when ordering this thing. It's endless. Rear axle steering, including power steering plus, sports exhaust system with tailpipes in black, heated steering wheel, panoramic roof system, the 21-inch sport design wheels painted in high gloss black, seat heating front and rear, I mentioned the massage seats, keyless entry, privacy glass, the Porsche crest on the headrests, door handles in high gloss black, a charging cable for the hybrid system, park assist front and rear including the surround view, LED matrix headlights, 4-zone climate control, night vision assist, the Burmester 3D high-end surround sound system, preparation for rear seat entertainment will come into use as my daughter gets older, interior package in deviated leather, extended dashboard trim in leather, vehicle key painted, soft closed doors, lane keep assist including speed limit indicator, Porsche InnoDrive including adaptive cruise control, 14-way power seats with memory package, storage package, window trim in high gloss black, ambient lighting including lighting in rear, USB rear interface, adaptive air suspension including Porsche active suspension management, and finally the deletion of the executive designation on the D-pillar. I think there are a few other options, but I'm not going to get into it. All of that for 55 grand from a Porsche dealer. Yes, I bought this car from an official Porsche retailer through their approved program, which means over the next 2 years, which is likely how long I'm going to own this car, I tend to change my dailies every 18 months, I've got full warranty, full approved used warranty. Not only that, the car had to go through its 118-point check or whatever to qualify as a Porsche-approved car. So I'm fairly well protected. And as I say, that is why at 55 grand, this thing was really hard to ignore. There is a bit of an elephant in the room that I need to address, which is my old RS6, because long-term viewers may remember I didn't exactly get on with that car. I had it for like 4 months. And you might be looking at this thinking, well, hold on a sec, Sam, isn't that just a case of same different bucket? But no. Firstly, the RS6 cost me 120 grand, not 55. And it seemed to lose 55 grand every single day that I owned it. Driving a car that expensive around as a daily, you've just got to be ludicrously wealthy, and I'm not. I begged, stealed and borrowed and financed the hell out of that thing, and I just felt nervy driving it around in everyday situations. But over and above that, the RS6 is all about performance, or at least this pretense of performance. It was always loud and it did awful MPG, and the thing was, it wasn't actually that fast on a British B road. Okay, fine, get it on a motorway and point A to point B, it was fairly quick, but I've got quick cars, I'm spoiled. I own other things and I get the chance to drive lots of fast things. For my daily, I don't need all of that, which is why I'm here in essentially the base Panamera. This thing is a Porsche, and yes, the hybrid system is part of the performance. It's not that quick. We've got like 455 horsepower, 0 to 60 in like 4.2 seconds, but that's with everything turned up. When you're in the kind of hybrid auto mode, you really got to rev this thing out to kind of get it going. But that's not a problem, because I'm not in it to go that fast. I just want to get there, and I want to get there in a good mood, in a good spirits, with my massage seats on, so I feel refreshed. I mean, for example, once we get past these horses, let's go into Sport Plus. I think we'd say I'm far enough away. Foot on the brake, hard, launch control. Okay, that is actually quicker. Yeah, I hadn't done launch control before. It's not that bad. But how often I'm going to be launch controlling my Panamera? Not that often. Kind of want to do it again though. Wow, that was good. I'm not going to pretend like it's all sunshine and rainbows though. There are a few negatives, low points, let's say. Firstly, there are a couple of creaks and rattles in here. I mean, given the car's age and its mileage, that's not wholly surprising, and they're definitely not constant enough for me to be like, that's a bit of a disaster. But every now and again, if you find yourself on a bumpier road, whilst this suspension is very comfortable, it is a little bit firm, and this is a Porsche after all, so then you can start to hear a few little things. I'll keep an eye on them. If they get worse, it could be a little bit annoying, but for now, they come and they go, and they're really not bad. The boot, not actually as big as you would think given the size of the car, especially with this hybrid variant. The boot floor is quite high. When you put the parcel shelf over, you just haven't got that much space. But having said that, if you put the rear seats down, it becomes like a van, this thing. I actually fit an armchair in here the other day with the rear seats down. So yeah, it can be good, but in its traditional setup, just not as big as you might think. And speaking of the boot, actually, it's also a bit of a death trap. It's got that technology that so many cars have, where if you wave your foot underneath the car, the tailgate automatically opens. But the sensor must be placed in the wrong place, because I've been unloading the car quite a few times, and the tailgate will start to close on my head. It's been sort of activated by my feet just being near the back of the car, so got to watch out for that. Apple CarPlay, it's the smaller reduced screen from a few years ago. Not a surprise, but I just got so used to the full screen integrations. You know, I bet that's something that can be fixed in the aftermarket. So if you're someone that does that, get in touch. It's also wired, not wireless, which again is not a surprise given the age of the car, but I have to keep reminding myself because I got so used to wireless Apple CarPlay. I keep setting up my Google Maps being like, come on, load! And then I have to plug it in. And there's only one USB port in this quite dinky central glove box, so it's not ideal. The antenna for the digital radio, not great, loses signal every now and again. And the parking sensors, way too overzealous. Just the minute you start to reduce speed, they're like, ah! I think that's about it. The only other thing that's worth mentioning at this point is the braking system on this car. Obviously being a hybrid, it's got regen braking. So it recharges the battery as you get on the brakes. When you're in e-drive and hybrid mode, which are the first two driving modes on the sort of Manatino down here, it's doing a lot of regen. You can really feel that. If you're coming to a halt or braking into a corner, whatever it might be, I think the initial phase of braking is a lot of regen, and you can actually see it. It indicates it here on my kind of main dashboard. But then there's a kind of little tiny sort of pause where it then switches to actual braking. And it just means that for a split second, the car isn't slowing down at the same rate that it was doing previously. Do you see what I mean? So it's like almost like a bit of a lurch. You just have to be aware of that. A couple of times in London, I found myself being like, oh, because I've been braking, and then, oh, there's a van. So I'm getting used to it. And obviously, the easiest way to get around it is just to drive the car in sport mode, because then you get a much more traditional brake pedal feel, sport plus, and on top of that, you're recharging the battery. So whilst you can plug this car in to charge, it's quite slow. You'd want to leave it overnight, I suppose. So I've actually been finding myself recharging the battery as I drive. Obviously, it makes the car a little bit more thirsty, but in general, yeah, most of the time I haven't actually plugged this car in. I've just recharged it on the go. You can also do that in hybrid mode by selecting it on the screen, hybrid charge setting. And so that just leaves us with the positives, which I feel like there are so many. I've already gone through what a relative bargain this is, but I haven't touched on just how lovely it is to drive. I adore spending time behind the wheel of this thing. In fact, since I picked it up, I look for any excuse to drive it. Honestly, I'm just in it all the time. The driving position is perfect. The visibility is fantastic. Yes, it's a Porsche, which for me now is a big win. Everything's where I expect it to be. There is a lot of haptic touch, sort of touch screen stuff going on, but a few knobs and dials, which I like. It's easy to position, even though it's massive. As I say, the suspension definitely lets you know it's a Porsche, but it's not firm. Like, it's so just cruisable. These massage seats, I got massage seats, it's outrageous. The sound system is great. I love the pan roof. It's just so airy and light in here. Today is a miserable day. It's pretty dark. I just feel like I'm in an, I don't know what, very bright area. I mean, that's an awful way to describe it. I wasn't sure about the carmine red paint when I first bought the car. I was thinking that I was probably going to wrap it, but I'm now in love with it. This chalk interior, the steering wheel, and then the hybrid side of it has paid off. Because I would say with zero charge, lugging around the battery in this thing, this car will easily average around 25 mpg in most situations. On the motorway, that goes up to probably early 30s. If I have good charge, whether that's by overnight charging or regenning it myself, I would add 5 to 10 mpg to that overall score. So on a day-to-day basis, it goes up to 30. On the motorway, I get close to 40. I haven't actually seen an average mpg of 40 plus since I bought the car. So don't kid yourself. You're not buying a Prius, but it's definitely making things a bit more frugal, given the fact that I've got a 450 odd horsepower V6 up front. So it's that perfect balance for me between sound, character, personality, enough performance that I need, and then the economy frugality that I want for the longer journeys. And the fact that every now and again it will just switch off the engine and cruise in an electric mode, especially in and around the city, especially when I have my early starts and I just want to creep away from home and not wake up the baby. Being able to just do that in eDrive, it's, yeah. Honestly, I'm so glad, because I was a little bit nervous just when I went to pick up the car. I was like, am I going to really like this? I hope it's not going to be the RS6 all over again, but it's genuinely, oh, I'm so pleased. And I'm thinking that I'm just going to want Panameras forever now. They've just brought out a new one, haven't they? Which kind of screwed me over slightly. But yeah, this car, 6 years old, almost 40,000 miles now. I've already done about 3,000 miles plus since I bought it. Just every time I drive it, it gets better. I'm so happy. I've got Twiggy with me today. She's been sleeping all day. She's super comfortable in here. As you can see, I've had the car seat all set up. That is the car seat from the GT3, but it's not in the GT3, it'll be in here. So I can go and pick up the baby whenever I need it. It's just, oh, it's a win-win-win. I will keep you posted as time goes on in terms of reliability, usability, MPG, all these different things. But I'm sure you'll see more of this car in the content because I enjoy it that much. And I do want to take it on some kind of road trip or venture to really test it on a proper long road trip. But yeah, today my stats are 5 hours driving time, 138 miles in total, 25.7 mpg so far. So that's pretty good, I think. Anyway, there you go. My Panamera. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Give it a thumbs up if you have. Stay subscribed because next week we're heading back into mainland Europe in the Challenge Stradale.